And specifically in our Parsha, we'll speak about a special command that is brought in the beginning, right in the beginning of the Parsha. And this command has to do with a general command to Am Yisrael that's connected to children. So basically what the Torah tells us that a kohen is not allowed to become impure. He's not allowed to go into a cemetery. He has certain laws that he's got to be very, very careful about. And it's very interesting because there used to be, let's say, in an airplane, even when someone's flying overseas, so he might cross and pass a cemetery. So there used to be certain airlines that were very careful about the route of the flight, not to go over a cemetery. There are also certain ways to avoid that according to halakha, where the tumah doesn't spread, the impurity doesn't spread, but they have and that's why you'll see sometimes a kohen, he doesn't go to kivrei tzaddikim. Even to cemeteries where there's a tzaddik, he wouldn't go the kohen. Why? Because he becomes impure, and this is something that even today, when all the halachot don't really apply, but it's still something that they try and stay away of. And actually, at the Rebbe's Oyel, if you've ever been there at the Rebbe's Oyel, so there's basically a special offense that takes you right from the tent all the way up to the Rebbe's Oyel in such a way that it doesn't, that it separates and divides between the people and the graves, and therefore also Kohanim can go to pray there, because otherwise they would become impure. So basically, this is the idea of the command, and here is the connection to children. It says twice, Emoir. The Parsha is Parshas Emoir, which means tell, say, tell the Kohanim, Emoir. And then it says it again, Ve'amarta, and you should say. Why does it say it twice? Emoir ve'amarta. So Rashi explains to us that it says it twice for one simple reason, in order for us to tell the elderly and to tell the children as well. And here is a special command where we don't see it often, that we should educate the children. And here specifically, we are talking about a special isur, something that's prohibited, something that we are not allowed to do, which is to make a Jewish kohen, a young boy, tamei, impure. This is something that we aren't allowed to do. So we are not, so what is our responsibility when it comes to education? It's not to provide something that's forbidden to a child. If a child on his own, for his own reason or on his own accord, if he goes and he does a certain isur, let's say he turns a light on Shabbos, so there's a discussion about it, but a certain opinions hold that you don't have to stop him because it's up to him, but you're not allowed to cause him to go and do such an isur. And this has to do with impurity. This has to do with eating kosher foods, right? So a little boy cannot eat something unkosher. And the main thing is that you're not allowed to provide him something unkosher. So we'll discuss this further, the idea behind the mitzvahs that children are not allowed to do. The Aveira said that they shouldn't do. Before we speak about that answer, we are now in the days of Sfirat HaOmer. And in the days of Sfirat HaOmer, so these days are very interesting days, very special days, very unique days. And we try and remember the sin of the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva. These days, we aren't allowed to listen to music. We aren't allowed to take a haircut. We aren't allowed to celebrate weddings, bar mitzvahs. We all delay these celebrations until after Shavuot. Certain opinions say after Lag BaOmer, but we hold that until Shavuot, until Matan Torah, we aren't allowed, and we should not celebrate in any way. Why is that? Because the Gemara tells us a story. The Gemara tells us a story about Rabbi Akiva, the famous Rabbi Akiva that started to learn Torah at the age of 40. And at the age of 40, he started to learn Torah. He went into a kindergarten or into a school, letters, until he became the famous Rabbi Akiva. And he had 24,000 students, all who followed Rabbi Akiva. And unfortunately, during these days, they all died. They died because of a plague that Hashem brought on them. And the reason for Hashem bringing this plague was because they did not respect one another. Lo nahagu kavod ze bazeh. They didn't respect each other. And therefore Hashem said, you are Torah scholars. I expect of you to respect each other. That's what you should be doing. If you can't do that basic thing of respecting each other, so you do not deserve to live in this world. And this is a very harsh decision. But we know that when it comes to tzaddikim, so Hashem measures them on a different scale. Hashem basically tests them in a different way, challenges them in a different way, and also the punishments that he carries out are a bit different to other humans. So in relation to that story, we first of all are very sad during these days. And we also increase in respecting and loving each other, taking care of each other, not being offended, not offending, of course. And this leads to the general topic of Ahavat Yisrael that we just read in the previous Parsha, but also to a very interesting, I would say it's a way of life. You know, there are two kinds of people. There's a person that says things as is. He is very, two roots in life, I would say. There's the derech ha'emes, the truth, the path of truth, and there's peace, the shalom. And these are usually there are also two types of personalities. Some people are straightforward. They say things as is. They say their own truth as is. They aren't as diplomatic. Certain areas, you know, you can go, you can see people who are, they usually attend to, as we said in Hebrew, dugri. They're very straightforward. And this is the path of emes, where you say your truth as is, without apologizing, without explaining yourself. And the advantage in that is that you say your truth. You say the things as is, and you can tell the other person what you really think. But the disadvantage is that this is something that isn't really acceptable. People don't relate to it. If someone tells his truth always, so people won't respect him, they won't respect his truth. Too harsh sometimes. And during these days of the Sfirot, so we've got three main Sfirot that start at the beginning of our counting. And we just started the third week. We just started the third week of the Sphira, and we came up to Tiferet. So we have kindness, which is the first attribute, the first trait. We have harshness, which is Gevura, which is restrain, discipline, or the typical translation again is harshness. That's Gevura. And then we have Tiferes. Tiferes is somewhere in the middle. It's between harshness and kindness. And we'll speak about the meaning of these three. So once again, there's this person who is true. And he's emes. You know, in the history of the Jewish nation, we have quite a few of those things. We have the tribe of Levi. Not only the tribe of Levi, but starting from Levi himself. You know, when the whole story in Chumash Bereshis, where they took the sister, where Shem ben Chamoyer took the sister Dinah, the sister of the 12 tribes, and wanted to marry her. So there were two brothers that acted, Shimon and Levi. And they both went and they killed the entire city, all the men of that city. So basically what happened is that this was a sign of harshness. And we know in Kabbalah, Levi is related to Gevura. The tribe of Levi is related to harshness, to discipline, to restrain. And that's someone that says things as is. He's very straightforward. He says his truth. But again, there's an advantage in it because you're saying your truth. But on the other hand, people get offended. People don't accept it. People don't like it. And you might go to do extreme things, such as what the brothers Shimon and Levi did to that entire city, where they basically wiped out all the men. And then on the other hand, you have a person that is kind. He is full of kindness, such as Avraham, our forefather. Avraham, basically the one that started the Jewish nation, based everything on kindness. And this is the first trait that we speak about at the beginning of the Sphira Soima. The first week is all about kindness, all about chesed. And it's a very interesting trait. It's a great attribute and great ability if someone can always be kind. And you can also see today, they are very kind. You know, they would see someone that doesn't observe anything, it doesn't keep Torah and mitzvahs, but they will be okay with it. And they will shower him with good words, with kindness, with kind deeds. That's the second personality. And that's similar to Avram. In our history, Avram was kind to who? To whom Avram was kind? Avraham was kind to Bedouins, to Arabs that used to travel the desert. They used to worship idols, and they didn't worship any special idols. They worshiped sand and dust. So you can imagine what kind of low people they are, but nevertheless, when they came into Avraham's house, they were always accepted with a nice warm smile, with a good meal to eat, as we read in the stories of Chazal. So these are the two personalities, and here comes Tiferes. Here comes the third trait, the third attribute, which is our week. We just started last night counting 15 days. This is Tiferes. What does Tiferes mean? Tiferes is a combination of kindness and harshness. Tiferes is a combination between these two personalities. One person that's very kind and he'll give whatever you want. He won't tell you what he really thinks. He'll be a very nice person. And the other person that's very harsh, which means he's not a bad person, but this is just his nature. This is how he deals with things. This is how he reacts to things in a way where he basically speaks his mind. So the combination between the two is a great combination. And this is Tiferet. And this is a story that I've heard about a person that, a French young guy, that this French young guy, he wanted to marry a girl that he was in contact with for approximately 3 or 4 years already, a serious relationship, and they wanted to get married. Problem was that this girl wasn't Jewish. And when this young guy told his father that he's planning to get married to her, the father was very, very upset. And he sent him to all kinds of rabbis to try and make him leave this idea. And the rabbis all told him what a bad sin he's doing, what a terrible punishment he will receive. But this didn't speak to him. He wasn't interested in punishment. So the father said, you know what? I've got one last request. Please go to the Rebbe. Please fly to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I'll pay for your ticket. Fly to the Rebbe. Tell him what you are about to do. So let's go back to these two personalities that we spoke about previously. Someone that's full of kindness, what would be his reaction to this young man? Person that's full of kindness will say, you know what, it's fine. It's okay. You can go and you can do this. Or he would try to melamed zchut, which means to try and find a way to explain what this guy is doing. But he would see only good in this person because he's not harsh. He cannot restrain himself. He cannot restrain others. He cannot demand from others. He is all full of kindness. And this is also something that we can see that has to do with discipline, where parents are disciplining their children, etc. Some parents in their nature, they are very kind. So they would give in to the child fully, which we know that's something that's not good at all. That's that personality. Then there's the harsh person. You know what the harsh person would do? And I've heard of a few stories like that. Once a son comes and tells that to the father says, you know what? You aren't my son anymore. I'm disconnected from you. Don't talk to me ever again. I don't want to hear from you ever again. And I just heard a story from one of the people at the Bet Chabad that he told me that he is in touch with such a person. And the family just disconnected them from him from their lives, which is very sad. But this is one kind of reaction. So how should we react to such a thing? How can we combine between these two personalities, between these two traits? On the one hand, being kind and loving and accepting towards others. But on the other hand, not to give up on your own principles, on your own laws, on your own codes of life. Not to give up to any person that just randomly wants to, he wants to just do whatever he wants. So here's the reply of the Rebbe. And this is a great reply because it shows us a very important lesson. The Rebbe told him, when he came to Rebbe, he told him, Rebbe, I'm about to get married to a non-Jew, to a Gentile. The Rebbe told him, I am jealous of you. Wow. He was shocked. What do you mean I'm jealous of me? So Rebbe said, I'm jealous of you because you're facing the powers from Hashem to overcome this challenge. And for that reason, I am jealous because I don't face this challenge. I don't have these special powers that Hashem gave you. He turned the perspective 180 degrees. After hearing that from the Rebbe, this young French man disconnected himself from the Gentile and the marriage did not happen. This is very interesting because here we can see Tiferet with its glory. This is the idea of combining two things together. On the one hand, saying your truth, but saying it in a kind way. That's the idea. It's a very hard path and a very hard method because it's taking two opposites and trying to combine them together. It's taking two things that, you know what, if someone's full of kindness, he finds it very hard to see bad in others or to stand on his principles. It's very hard for that person. And if someone's harsh, if someone is restrained, if someone likes telling his principles out loud to everyone, so he'll find it very, very hard to be kind to another person. And if that person will come and say, you know what, I want to get married to a non-Jew, to a Gentile, he'll say, how can you do such a thing? How you dare do such a thing? So these are the two methods, these are the two traits and two personalities that we've got to combine together. And the method is saying your truth in a kind way. It's all about the way. And it's all about standing behind your truth. You're not giving up. The Rebbe didn't say you can do it or I understand you. The Rebbe changed the picture totally. So for me personally, this is a great lesson because in life, we always are interactive. We are interactive at home. We are interactive when we are in shul. We are interactive when we're in a Torah class. We are interactive when we are out shopping. We are interactive every single second of our lives. And the question is how to interact to our surroundings, to our family members, to our friends, to our fellow members of the community, whoever it would be. We've got to find, on the one hand, a way to relate in a kind way, but to never give up your personality. So this is a great story from the Rebbe. Let's go back to the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva. 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva, they all were very into their truth. That's why they did not respect each other. Not that they hated each other. It's not that they were fighting over something bad, but they could not find a kind way to share their opinion. They were pretty harsh. They were all stuck to the truth that they thought is the truth. And out of love, they might have turned to their friends and said, you know what? I want to help you, but you've got to go according to my truth. I want you to listen to my truth. I want you to follow my truth. Your truth is wrong. And this is the problem. When we cannot find a kind way explaining to someone else something, explaining to him in a kind way where we actually accept his opinion as well. This is what we can learn from the story of Rabbi Akiva and the 24,000 students. So back to the beginning of our Parsha, when it speaks about little children, where they are also obligated to keeping mitzvot in that way, where the parents should not provide anything forbidden. Why is a young child commanded on such a thing? The truth is that this is the core to Ahavat Israel and to being able to actually relate to each and every child, and not only to each and every child, but to our friends, and to try and make the effort to, on the one hand, talk in a kind way, but staying with your principles. And this is because we all have one soul. Even if it's a little child, he's also got a Jewish soul. That's why don't provide him with something that's forbidden. If it happens to be that he ate it by himself, so that's okay because he isn't commanded on the mitzvot yet. But don't provide him with it because he's also got a soul after all. And this is the key to understanding how nice way, because he has the exact same soul as I am, and therefore we should make sure that we can run. Thank you very much for taking part in this year. Looking forward to see you.